for you there, hungering for your presence, hungering for your dialogue. The universe is your teacher. Nature is your teacher. Learn from nature. Nature is what they call, there's a philosophy called, or it's a science, I guess, called negentropia. Ever heard of that? Negentropia. N-E-G-E-N. Negentropia, or negentropic. And that's what the universe is. See, the universe's order is not plugged in. You don't find a socket where the universe is plugged in, so that the sun and the moon and the clouds and the rain, where's its energy bank? It's what's called negentropic. It's self-developing, self-perpetuating, and self-regulating. So we need to be, studying that every morning. Bruce Lee said, every morning, like a scholar at his first class, I prepare a blank mind for the day to write upon.
That's nice.
That summarizes everything that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow doesn't exist. Find the void. Find the still point. And from that place, draw your energy and resist any force, or have zero tolerance for any force that stops you from doing that. Because as we said, there is an adversarial energy. Because I believe what I'm talking about is man's true destiny. He would be doing this if he wasn't already, in a form of dementia. But that dementia, that infection, that epidemic is caused by external forces that I address in my work and that people need to know about.
Everything that draws away your attention or from you being focused on what you want to do for,
is your study,
during your day. Or
is your homework.
Yeah.
And I want to see people with their heads down and taking real notes on that one. That I want to see total and utter, awareness of all these factors, and some of them are political, and some of them are environmental, and there's all sorts. There's all people that can come to the table at this. I don't rule out anything.
Yeah.
Yes, there are many forms. There's psychotropica, there's pharmacopoeia, there's mind control through the television. There's mercury. We're talking about a lot of different. We know. Hopefully, the listeners are aware of this is manifold. Because as we said, a web is not created with one thread. A puppet is not dangled with one string. There's many goes on here. And become students of this, not pessimistically, but think of this as your enlightenment. This is enlightening you. It's lightening you above the rest of it, so that you can start to see what is going on, to get that perspective.
Not getting down by the information itself. This is an opportunity. First you have to, I don't know if we want to, call it a problem, because, again, then we go back to all of that aspect. But first you have to recognize and see what is the problem for you to be able to do something about it, in a way. So this is an opportunity,
And look at how man has manufactured these problems, And as I say, it all boils down to his contract with himself from the earliest days to, lose his psychic sovereignty and his selfhood. The ego is all about that. And it learned that out of its weakness. Out of its great fragility, it started to need this sort of scaffolding, And therefore it fell victim to the black art. It really did. And so every voice, every phenomena that comes in to, stop this action of life, this allowance, I consider is a sorcery. Negative. And people can read more about this on the Weapons of Mass Deception article that I wrote. It's on the forum, or they can email me for it. There's a lot of explanations on there about that, the divination and the goddess DVD, because being and doing is another division we didn't talk about. There's another component to this about the being and the doing and the difference between those two. We talked about it a little bit, but again, life and lifestyle. What today we have is lifestyle, not life. Very few people are living, but they're certainly into lifestyle because they've bought that whole prefabricated, packaged imagery that the world has been throwing. And realize that things like good and evil, they are built into the universe. They're in the architecture of the universe. You can't do anything about good and evil, but you can do something about your attitude towards those realities. You're in control of that.
That's right. So I think that is an excellent point to round things up on here. Is there anything else you want to get through to this? We've been talking about the differences here between sorcery and magic, and what you can do about it to get into the magical concepts more, and also as a help to all the all the problems and all the mess we see out there in the world, and that it's something that comes from within yourself, the development of yourself, and even how you view the problem and so forth. But what would you recommend one of your DVDs to dive into more of this divination and the goddess.
Yeah, divination and the goddess, because in that one I talk about this very serious problem between karma and dharma, being and doing, and specifically this illusion of Maya is something outside yourself. Maya is illusion, but it's your ideas about things that is of the illusionary quality here. And the priests, you see, turned this around. They were very cunning. If they could make Maya the world, and if they could make Maya matter, well, then they can sell you this idea that your spirit is caught in matter. And now you need us to help you to get out of it. So a priest class is born. And of course, with Maya goes the female, and goes the feminine, you see, and goes the animals. And the whole circus starts up by a misinterpretation that it's your perceptions about reality that is the illusion. And so this whole priestarchy started to operate over there, not to liberate man, but to further enslave them. Turning them off from the real meaning of the word. So I'll go into that in the Divination and the Goddess DVD. I go into this thing about technology, about what is technology, why did man even get into science and technology, you see. And also to realize that it's not so much that magic is the operation of mind over matter, which is totally, it does happen, as we said, that action does happen, they scientifically proved it.
Yeah.
But magic is really more the understanding of how the universe is changing you. See, one is from an egoistic point of view of how I affect change in the world. Man, it's almost like the child mind is obsessed with this. How do I wave my magic wand? Meaning, how does my ego, how does my existence affect everything around me? Why don't people, study how the world affects you? Like, for instance, when you drink a glass of water, you are aware that you've changed that water by your drinking. But are you aware also that that water has changed you forever in that simple act? No, we're not. See, it's one-sided. Now, I've learned this from Rilke, the poet, and from Blake and from other Heidegger, Bergson. They're talking about this, about are we really subtly aware of how the things around us affect and change us forever, and how we're constantly a different person every day. It's like that Bruce Lee thing. I reincarnate myself every day. His mind is fresh and new. He's the blank slate. So are we really going through this living life process of being aware? Remember you read it in the early part where, is magic that which affects us on all levels at once? Yeah, well, okay, if magic is that which affects us on all levels at once, meaning what? Emotionally, sensationally, intellectually, and so on, and physically, then how many things constitute magic in your life then? There must be very few things, isn't it, for most people? Okay, we can say it's obvious, artwork, beautiful artwork. You can't look at Vermeer or Bruegel, because these were men who were enraptured with those other inanimate, friends. They had that family that we don't have. And so their paintings were to share that voice with you. So we can say that art is an expression of that affects us on all levels at once. Music, certainly. That's why people love music, is because it's affecting them not just emotionally or intellectually, but on all levels at once. Good music will do that.
And just, think of the artist themselves, because they spend a lot of time actually trying to see what in order to be able to paint the way they do, because in most cases they do paint, environments or objects in a way, but they spend a lot of time learning on what it actually is and studying it a lot of time. And in that process, I think that becomes a spiritual process.
Isn't it magic? To know how to mix colors?
Yeah.
In fact, do you know that during the time of the guilds and the time of the artisans, mixing colors was so sacred that only certain people could do it? Today in Tibet, it's still considered one of the greatest art. That sand paintings that they do, those mandalas that they draw and then they destroy afterwards. The whole